Welcome to the Piedmont and Oakland and Berkeley, Albany, Emeryville League of Women Voters Forum. We're glad that you could join us this evening. We have three sets of candidates running for office this evening, and we will be, I'll be discussing what the ground rules are. But before I do that, I do want to say a few words about the League of Women Voters. This year marks the 100th anniversary of the League of Women Voters. In 1920, the League was founded as a nonpartisan organization, not only to champion the cause of women's suffrage, but to also help the enfranchised voters exercise their responsibilities as voters. The League does not support or oppose any candidate or any political party, or conduct our advocacy and educational outreach to benefit a political party or any candidate. We do, however, take positions with regard to public policy, and in the broad sense, we support those candidates that embody key League positions, such as equality of opportunity for people of color and women, education, fair housing, environmental justice, campaign finance reform, and voting rights, just to name a few. So although we are nonpartisan, we strongly encourage informed and active participation of our community in government, and that's the reason we're here this evening. Our goal tonight is to provide you with information that will help inform your decisions when you cast your ballot this next election. We also aim to bring you into the political process by giving you the opportunity to ask the candidates questions directly. If you are interested in community service, the League of Women Voters provides a great opportunity to engage within our communities. There's so much going on, and there's something for everyone. I apologize, I do not have information for membership for the Oakland and the Berkeley, Emeryville, Albany League. But if you are interested in joining the Piedmont League of Women Voters, you can go to lwvpiedmont.org. Anyone who is 16 years or older may join our league as a voting member, and anyone younger than that can join as an associate member. And youth memberships are only $10. But before I discuss the ground rules for tonight's forum, I just want to take a minute to make a couple of announcements. First, the League of Women Voters Piedmont will be hosting its annual biannual fundraiser to celebrate the 100th anniversary of the League this March. Our speaker will be Alameda County District Attorney Nancy O'Malley, and you will not want to miss that event. So please look for that in the upcoming weeks. Second, the League of Women Voters of Piedmont is sponsoring an essay contest that's open to all high school juniors and seniors currently enrolled in the Piedmont High School or Millennium High School. And the winner of that essay contest will receive a $500 scholarship. We hope if you have a junior or senior high school student, you will encourage their participation in this contest. Now on to our forum. As part of our Voter Services Forum tonight, there will be three separate question and answer segments for the candidates for Superior Court, Assembly District 15, and the Alameda County Board of Supervisors. Each candidate will have 3 minutes to give an opening statement, followed by a question and answer session with the audience, where each candidate will have 1 minute to answer each question. And then each candidate will be permitted to present a 2-minute closing statement. Our timekeeper tonight is Cynthia Chen from the Berkeley, Albany, Emeryville League. She will be holding up a yellow card when the speaker has 30 seconds, 30 seconds, and 15 seconds left, and then a red card when the speaker's time has lapsed. For those statements that are longer than 1 minute, she will hold up a 1-minute notification. In order to be fair to everyone, we ask that the speakers to please end their comments when the time has ended. We are collecting written questions from the audience and have pens and cards for you to submit questions. Our question screeners will be going around the room, so please raise your hand if you have a question. I do want to make a note that only Questions will only be forwarded if they are unbiased and fair, and they will not submit questions to me that are not premised on facts or are accusatory or hostile. We may also summarize questions for clarity and to avoid repetition. We are also taking questions from the KCOM viewers at home that are watching. Those will be screened by our Vice President, Laurel Plimier. If you are watching at home and would like to submit a question, please email them to lwvpiedmont@gmail.com at any time during this forum to have your question submitted. So you can submit a question for a candidate that's coming later now if you would like. Also, I would just like to remind the audience to please silence your cell phones. So we will get down to business now. Before the forum started, the candidates drew straws, and they will give their statements in order. Our first candidate is Lilla Szelenyi. In second, it will be Mark Fickes, and our third candidate giving their opening statement will be Elena Condes.
Do you want us to be seated because of the mic, or do you want us to stand up? These guys like to stand up, and I just want to do whatever we do together.
It's perfectly fine to stay seated.
Okay. These guys really like to exercise. I get my runs in the morning. Hey guys, how are you? Thank you so much for joining us this evening. I actually had a question presented to me yesterday through my website, and someone asked me, are you liberal or conservative? And I sat at my desk thinking, well, how do I answer that correctly? And I realized that in reality, I'm neither. I'm neither because every day I put on a black robe, and when I put my robe on, I cannot be liberal or conservative. I just need to be an arbiter of facts. I need to take the facts that are presented to me, and I need to apply the law to them. Personally, I have personal views, of course, and I'm always happy to share my personal views with friends at a bar drinking a glass of cold beer. But those personal views have no business in my courtroom. Those personal experiences that I have, I can't just lock out of my experience, but they have no business whatsoever when it comes to me making a decision on a case. I have been wearing a black robe for the last 15 years of my life every day. Okay, that's not true. 2 days a week, my robe is white with little pink ribbons on it. That's my real robe. But other than that, I've been a trial judge for the last 15 years. I have tried well over 1,000 cases at this point in time. Of the three of us, I'm the only one who has had real, true judicial experience. Although I am in a limited jurisdiction, meaning I work in a workers' compensation setting, that setting brings in a lot of different areas of the law that I address. I know how to read contracts. I know how to arbitrate cases. I know how to deal with people who are not represented by counsel, because there's a lot of people in the workers' compensation system that come to court that do not have attorneys available to them. Those are experiences I have had. Those are experiences I have developed over the last 15 years. Yes, other people can develop those experiences. That is what becoming a judge is all about. You get on the bench and you learn. But what you have in me as a candidate is someone who's already ready to take on that role without having to be trained on how to become that neutral arbiter. Because the reality is, it doesn't come naturally. It takes time to build that. It took me several years to keep my personal views out of the courtroom and learn to just really analyze the case based on the facts that are presented. When it comes to any case that's in front of me, I don't even really think about the people that are in front of me. I literally just listen to the facts, and when I go back to my office, I apply the law to those facts. Sometimes I don't like the law that I'm applying, but I have to, because that is the oath we take as judges. We take an oath to apply the law as it is written in the state of California, not the way we would like them to be written. I hope, having told you this, you will consider voting for me in March 3rd election, or when you get home, checking your voter ballot. Thank you so much.
Are you going to stand or sit?
Mr. Fickes.
Thank you. All right, I'm a creature of habit. I'm in court all the time, and I'm used to standing up when I talk to the public, so that's what I'm going to do tonight. Thank you for having me here. This is actually a very exciting opportunity for people. Many of you may or may not know that, but judges most often are appointed by the governor's office. And so it's a really rare opportunity that you, the voters, have to actually decide who your judges are. And the reason that's so important is the way the judicial appointment system works is a bunch of judges get together, they kind of identify a couple people that they really like that are their friends, they send them off to the governor's office, those names. The governor then goes back and interviews those candidates' friends, and they go, yeah, we're all really great friends, we're all part of the same club. And then at some point, that person or people get appointed. And so when people wonder why the judiciary doesn't change much, is because it tends to be a bit of an insider's game. But when a seat comes up for election, you actually take that power away from the 72 people in Alameda County who are wearing black robes, and that power is invested in you. And the reason I love that is someone who's tried more than 50 trials in front of judges and juries in my life, I believe in empowering the people to make these kinds of decisions. The reason I'd like to ask you to consider voting for me is that I believe that I represent true diversity in terms of experience in the legal profession. First of all, if elected, I'd be only the second openly gay man to serve on a 72-judge court. And when we talk about the population as all, gay men are among the most underrepresented segment in the judiciary. But beyond that, I'm the only candidate that actually has done a little bit of everything that a judge is called upon to do. I've prosecuted criminal cases. I've defended criminal cases. I prosecuted white-collar criminals and corporate greed and corruption as an enforcement attorney for the Securities and Exchange Commission. And I now do a variety of business disputes, and I also represent people in civil rights disputes with the government, where the government has either taken away their property. I have a client where there was a swastika painted on their door after their property was stolen. I represent whistleblowers who find corruption in government. They disclose it. They get fired. I represent those people, and I take those cases to trial, and I hold people in power accountable. So at the end of the day, what I bring is a variety of experience, 50 trials, both criminal, civil, in state court, federal court, courts throughout the state of California. I bring diversity to a bench that's lacking in diversity. And I also bring a lot of history of community involvement. I'm a past president of my synagogue. I've worked to help support the community through the fighting HIV/AIDS through AIDS Walk. I've worked to help feed our hungry here through the Alameda County Food Bank. I've worked to help to clothe the unhoused through our synagogue's outreach programs. And I've also worked to advance the rights and opportunities for LGBT lawyers by being on the board of the nation's oldest and largest LGBTQ Attorneys Association. I hope to earn your support, and I hope to earn your vote. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
My name's Elena Condes, and I am running for judge. And just for a point of clarity, I think it's really important to understand how your government works. It is not the case that the 72 judges in the courthouse pick the new judge. It doesn't work that way. People put in applications to the governor. There's a vetting committee that looks at those applications, and through that vetting committee, an investigation is done. The Bar Association does a vetting, and then those names are given to the governor, and the governor picks that way. So it's not done in the courthouse, just for clarity. I am running for judge because I think I have something to add to the bench. I have been a criminal defense attorney in Alameda County and in Berkeley for 26 years. I have been working in the Alameda County courts for 26 years. I'm in the courts almost every day. And through that work, I get to know the families of my clients. And, 50% of people show up to court without a lawyer because they can't afford them. And those are the people that I deal with every day. The people who have barriers to justice, barriers because of transportation, because of language, because of education. And those are the people that I am used to working with every single day. I have been, this seat is open, and it is a great opportunity and a unique opportunity. This seat is open because a judge is retiring after 40 years. I've appeared in her courtroom for 26 years. She knows me, and she knows my work, she knows my integrity, and she has endorsed me for this seat. 51% of Alameda County are women, and only 36% of judges on the bench are women. And a woman is stepping down, and I think I am the woman to take her place. She also thinks I'm the woman to take her place. I bring welcome diversity to the court. I'm a second-generation Mexican-American. My mother was born in Mexico. My father was born in a border town in Arizona. And I'm also a lesbian. And so what I bring also is that perspective from the criminal defense bar. 81% of the judges on the bench come from civil and prosecution side. So that perspective of working, daily working with those people who are in the courtroom, who have to deal with the processes and the decisions. Those are the people that I work with. Those are the people that I understand. I have the depth of knowledge in the law, in the court, and I hope that you'll find that you vote for me. Thank you.
Great, thank you. And while we're getting some of those questions passed, since we will be taking questions in order, and I will be rotating. So I will start with you first, Mr. Fickes. The first question is, the courts in California and Alameda County are overburdened, sometimes taking decades to resolve a case. Do you have any solutions to offer for resolving cases more quickly?
Yes, I do. First of all, I do want to commend the courts. Actually, cases go to trial in Alameda County, civil cases, much faster than they used to. When I started my career, it took sometimes 3, 4, 5 years to get a case to trial. I've tried 3 cases in Alameda County in the past 3 years. Each one of those cases was 2 years old by the time it went to trial. So there has been progress. But really, one of the ways to deal with progress, particularly in civil lawsuits, because there's no constitutional right to a trial within a short time frame, is to have judges who have the experience evaluating cases in terms of what they're worth to help negotiate settlements. If you've never handled a civil case, you don't understand how the law of damages work, you don't understand what cases are worth, and you don't understand the dynamics that can bring the parties together to resolve them. So what I think is to put more emphasis on alternative dispute resolution, particularly in the civil courts where the cases are often worth a lot of money and very contentious and very difficult to resolve. So I think getting more people with that kind of experience on the bench to help resolve those cases will go a long way.
Ms. Condes, same question.
Yeah, I think that that one of the ways to clear it up is to have more courts, more judges, and to lobby, your representatives for more money for the courts, because when you have to wait years and years to resolve a dispute, that's not justice. So allocation of resources, I think, is a huge part to relieve the overburdening of the court, but also having a deep experience in negotiating cases, because in the criminal law arena, 95% of cases don't go to trial. So negotiation is a key part of criminal defense work. And so being able to bring parties together so everybody has some buy-in, everybody's got some skin in the game, everybody is comfortable with the resolution, I think is an important skill, and I think it's a huge way to move things through the court.
Ms. Szelenyi, same question.
When I first, see now I have to stand up because they always stand up, right? So I have to join them. When I first joined the bench in my own department, that's when the state was extremely low on funds. When I started, I was already backlogged by hundreds of cases that never got attention. So the group of judges I worked with, we got together and we decided the way we're going to do this is by working as a team. What I would bring to the Superior Court is an experience of knowing how it is you can streamline cases, how it is you can cut down backlog. One of the ways, of course, is by increasing the amount of cases judges hear. Another way of dealing with it is by having judges work together to resolve cases. Although this alternative dispute resolution is wonderful, people have a right to trial. So you can't push people into settling cases just because you want to find a way to resolve the case faster. Thank you.
So our next question, we'll start with Ms. Condes. This is for you. And how would you describe your judicial temperament, and how important is this quality?
Thanks for the question. Judicial temperament is hugely important because what I have, my experience through my practice, I deal with a lot of people who are very stressed, on the edges. They can possibly lose everything, including their liberty. And so to be able to hear people, to understand complexity, and to maintain composure regardless of how stressed people are, how upset people are, is really important, to give everybody the sense that they are important. So to be able to, not have it be a personal thing, because none of it is personal. It's all about the people that are in front of you. It is their lives, and to be able to maintain calm and composure throughout, I think is hugely important, and I think it makes a big difference of how quickly you can run a court and how well you can run a court.
Could I just have the question repeated again?
Of course. How would you describe your judicial temperament, and how important is this quality?
Sure.
Actually, it's Ms. Szelenyi's turn next.
Szelenyi.
Szelenyi, sorry.
That's okay, but just call me
yes.
Lilla to make it easier on you. All right.
I said it right before.
You did. You're doing great. I've had 15 years of practicing my judicial temperament. In addition to that, I teach yoga on the side. As a yoga instructor, I've learned how to keep people calm. I've learned also how to calm myself in a courtroom. So when things get heated, because things get heated all the time in a courtroom, I know how it is to bring the attorneys down. I've taught them to breathe. When they ask questions and they get agitated, I always take a moment out and have everybody just take a breath so that everybody can be calm, including me. When you've got a packed full of courtroom and you have to move your calendar, it's easy to lose your temper. But having the experience of practicing yoga and teaching yoga, I think I have the temperament you need for a Superior Court judge.
Thank you.
Yeah, I would describe my judicial temperament as I try to emphasize professionalism and calmness. I'm a parent of 2 teens who are freshmen at Oakland Tech, so my husband and I see a lot of volume in our house and a lot of conflict. And I think we've learned just as parents that sometimes turning down the volume from the authority side is a way to get other people calmed down. Having tried as many cases as I do, you also have to learn how to deal with stress and still not get yourself excited. So, for example, when I tried cases for the federal government, those cases can be very emotional. The stakes are incredibly high. And yet, our orders from Washington were always to treat everyone with professionalism and courtesy in a courtroom. And that's the value I take with me today. And I would note, for example, that although I've tried a lot of cases and, people's feelings can get hurt in trial, a significant number of my endorsers and my supporters in terms of contributors to my campaigns are people who have been on the opposite side of cases of me in trial and in lawsuits. And the reason they support me is they know that I treat everyone fairly, even when I'm in an advocate's role, and that's how I would continue to treat people as a judge.
Thank you. Our next question would be for you, Ms. Szelenyi.
Doing great.
The California Chief Justice has issued a letter expressing her concern with the presence of ICE agents in California Superior Courts. If elected to the Superior Court, what will you do to ensure that immigrants who are witnesses or are seeking redress from the courts feel safe from this threat when coming to court?
That is actually a very difficult situation we deal with in my forum. As you can imagine, in the state of California, there is a large number of illegal immigrants working. California is a thriving community employing illegal immigrants, and they do get hurt, and guess what? They have rights to workers' compensation benefits. So when this whole ICE thing first came about, we as judges met with our presiding judge and asked him what it is we could do to make sure that the people who are appearing in front of us would be protected, that they would still be entitled to have their cases heard. At that point in time, my presiding judge did put into effect a protocol to follow for all judges who believed in the system of protecting the injured workers who were illegal to make sure they got their cases heard. I think what you need to do is work together as a group in the department that you're in to make sure that everyone's on the same page protecting those people, and that they and communicate to them that they should be safe.
Thank you. Mr. Fickes.
Thank you. That's it's a good question, and it's a vexing problem, I think, particularly in California trial courts, because I assume most of you know this, but courtroom proceedings, they're open to the public. You as a judge, except for very limited circumstances, cannot bar someone from being present in your courtroom. And so if an ICE agent comes in there, you really are on thin ice if you just say you can't be in here or you can't kick them out. But what judges do have is they do have the ability to lobby. They do have abilities to work with governments. They do form committees to deal with all kinds of policies that affect the courts. And so what I would say is I don't feel that it would be appropriate for me to close my courtroom down, just like it would not be appropriate for me to ask if the litigant were an undocumented person or not. And so what you have to do is do your best to make sure that your courtroom feels like a safe environment for all who come in there, and then work within your policy and your legislative and lobbying groups with the courts to try to improve the system. But ultimately, you can't kick ICE officers out of a courtroom. It's just not legal, and you can't do it.
Same question, Ms. Condes.
Thank you. I think that it is a huge problem. It's a huge problem because witnesses don't want to come and testify. Victims don't want to call the police. And it's hard if you've got a witness that is helpful in your case that you can't get them to court because they're afraid. So as a judge, you can't bar ICE from coming in, but what you can do is make a safe place. In the courtroom, you're the boss. In the courtroom, you get to decide. If you're having a hearing and there is a witness testifying, you can have them wait outside. So there are some things that a judge can do because within that courtroom, the ICE officers are still citizens. They are still have to follow the orders of the court, and they can't come in and disrupt courtroom proceedings. It is a problem, but I think there's something you can do for the litigants who are there in front of you.
Thank you. Okay, so our next question, I believe, is for Mr. Fickes. Can you explain how you will learn to manage cases outside of your expertise or scope of experience?
Sure. That's a huge thing that we all talk about. I mean, no one person for judge has done everything. What I think I do bring to the position is that I've actually done a lot of different kinds of cases that judges have been called to do. I've done criminal cases. On the civil side, I have done accounting, I've done professional liability type cases, I've done business disputes, I've done civil rights cases, I've done a lot of different things. Candidly, I have not done probate cases and I have not done family law cases. And so what you do as judges is you try to draw upon the experience that you have in terms of the caseload you do, and you do have to learn new bodies of law. I mean, that is just the nature of the beast. What I would respectfully suggest is that it's a little easier when you have a broader bench to draw upon. And so having had extensive experience in both the civil and the criminal law in disputes ranging from land use to personal injury to civil rights, that I draw upon a breadth of knowledge and experience that would allow me to do the extra work I need to do to learn the intricacies of family law or probate, for example.
Thank you. Ms. Condes.
Oh, thank you. A person is a judge for usually a really long time, and years. The judge who's retiring was a judge for 40 years. So what it matters is to be able to understand the law. All areas of the law use code of procedure. All areas of law use rules of court. All areas of law use the same evidence code, and they use case law and statutes. And so it is having a depth of experience in the law that matters, and I have that. I have done a little bit of other cases through my practice, primarily criminal defense. But what it matters is that you know how to research, you know how to read case law, you know how a courtroom works, and so that learning curve is going to be for a little bit of time. Who that judge is going to be there for a long time.
Lastly, thank you.
As a judge, I expect the attorneys to teach me what it is that I need to know about their cases. That is their job, right? They're representing someone, and they need to tell me what it is their argument is and what they're basing that argument on. A few years ago, I had to try a case where a part of the Bay Bridge collapsed during the building of the bridge. And there was a dispute as to who was really responsible for that injury to occur. And eventually it turned down to one little bolt that malfunctioned. And the question was, who actually created that bolt and who decided to put that bolt inside this structure. And I was looking at the attorney saying, back then I was blonde, I said, look, you guys, I can't even visualize this. Explain to me how it is that I need to visualize this case. And that's what they did. They explained it to me. So as a judge, you rely on the attorneys to actually help you do your job. They brief the cases, they argue the cases, they give you all the work you need to do. The rest of it you learned in law school. Facts, law, apply, create the decision. Thank you.
Great. And we, believe it or not, are coming up on our closing statements. The candidate who started last gets to go first, so that 2 minutes for a closing statement. Ms. Condes.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, and thank you for your time and your good questions. So I believe that I'm the best candidate for this seat, for the same reason that the judge who is retiring thinks that I am. Because I've been in the court, I've been in Alameda County for 26 years. I know Alameda County, and I know the courts there, and they know me, they know my experience, and they know my integrity. I've been in the county also. My daughter was a product of Berkeley Public Schools. I volunteered for East Bay La Raza Lawyers Association, increasing the diversity of law students, primarily Latino law students, and helping build that pipeline. There have only been 2 Latinas on the bench since the first one was appointed in 1997. And so I think that we can't wait any longer for somebody else to decide when and how many seats at the table we get. I think it's important to increase the diversity of the court. I think it's important that the court reflects the community that it serves. It adds legitimacy to the court. And I think that when you work in a community, when you know the community, you can serve the community because you know what their stressors are, you know their barriers, you know the barriers of the court, you know the limitations of the court, and you know where it is the work needs to be done. So that's what I bring to this, is a depth of experience. I bring much welcome diversity in the court. I've been endorsed by 26 judges who currently sit on the court, and as well as prosecutors and other lawyers in the community, as well as many community members, labor unions, and my materials will be out there so you can see them. So thank you for your time. I hope I have your vote.
So I'd like to start by saying that I'm proudly endorsed by the Democratic Party. I'm endorsed by the Asian Pacific American Democratic Caucus, and I'm endorsed by more than 40 elected leaders throughout Alameda County. That's mayors, city council people, school board members from Albany, Berkeley, Oakland, Hayward, Fremont, and Dublin. And the reason those people have endorsed me is they know the depth of my history in Alameda County. They know the depth of my commitment to the people of Alameda County as someone who's just been involved in the community, having served on the school board, having served as a synagogue president, and all those other kinds of things. This is just a fantastic opportunity for you as the voters to empower who your judges are. Again, I think it's an opportunity to take that power away from Sacramento, to take that power away from judges, and vote someone in who can be an agent of change because they come from a little bit of a different perspective. I have not only tried my 50 cases in Alameda County, I've tried my 50 cases in Oregon, and I've tried cases and litigated matters in Idaho, in Hawaii, and throughout the state of California. And what that means is not only do I have a real breadth of trial experience, both in the civil and the criminal realm, but I am able to draw from the experience of literally dozens and dozens of judges from throughout this state in terms of informing how I would be a judge. And so I think it's time for us to, I agree with Ms. Condes that it's time for people to get a seat at the table, and I would be only the second openly gay man to serve as a judge. But I don't deserve a seat at that table just because I'm gay or just because I'm diverse. I've earned a seat at that table because I've done the work. I've done the work to advance the rights of the underdog and women who are fired from their jobs because they dared to stand up to power. I've done the work for immigrants who had their properties stolen by the government and had swastikas painted on their door. I'm actually the candidate that is proud to talk about each and every case that I've fought in front of a jury because I've so consistently stood up for the underdog and fought for their rights. I hope to earn your vote.
Fine.
I'm not political. I'm not supposed to be political because I'm a judge. And in fact, because of that, I have a lot of restrictions on myself. I am, however, an extremely good candidate. I'm very good at my job. In fact, I'm so good at it that every single judge that I work with in Oakland has endorsed me. My presiding judge had endorsed me, and so has my former chief judge, Richard Newman, has endorsed me. These people have worked with me for the last 15 years. Not only have they worked with me for the last 15 years, they worked with me before I became a judge. And I think nothing speaks about you more than people that work with you. Now, some people may say, well, they want to get rid of you. That's why they're endorsing you. They want you to get this new job. Well, that's not really true because we work so closely together. Losing one of us is like losing a part of the family. We've been together for so long. So I believe I'm your best candidate because not only do I have the experience to be a judge, I have proven myself to be an extremely good judge just based on the fact that several judges that I personally work with day in, day out have endorsed my candidacy. Thank you very much.
Well, that concludes this portion of the forum. I want to thank you all so much for joining us this evening. I think you've given the voters a lot to think of. Thank you for coming.